Well, it's time now to catch up with Lauren Parsons, wellbeing expert, and from Lauren Parsons Wellbeing. Welcome to the show, firstly.
Thanks, Di. Great to see you again.
Yeah, so good to catch up. Now, we're talking the hard stuff today. You left it for me, didn't you, Lauren? We're gonna talk about how we can communicate the bad news because I don't know about you, Lauren. I love the good news. I just want to
Mm.
talk about that, but the difficult stuff, I kind of. I kind of find that hard to do, and I don't always do it very well. So let's
Yeah.
delve in.
Yes, well, I think you're not alone. And this was top of mind for me because last week I was working with a construction firm and their project managers. This is part of their bread and butter, is having to manage project timelines. And sometimes things change, sometimes something's broken, something's delayed. So they're constantly having to use those amazing communication skills to be able to break tough news or bad news. And as you say, often we resist this. Sometimes we think, oh, how am I going to say this? And we put it off and we resist. But actually, the sooner we can do it, and if we can use some key tips and ideas that I'll share, the better it is for everyone. It's like if you've traveled to meet a friend at a cafe at 10 o'clock and you've
Mm,
packed up your work and you've traveled there and you've managed to find a parking, you actually got there 5 minutes early and you're just sitting and waiting and the hour rolls past and it's about 5 past there and you get a text saying, oh, sorry, so flat out busy, can't join you today.
mm, mm.
And you think, oh, and your heart sinks, you think, oh, well, there's 45 minutes of my day gone.
Yeah.
Whereas if they just sent you a quick text half an hour earlier, then
Mm,
it wouldn't have been a big deal. So the first and foremost thing with tough news is actually the sooner you do it, not only is it better for the other person because they're empowered, they can make decisions, but also it lightens your own load. It's like you carry around this weight of something that you have to share. So it's great
mm.
both for you and them to share it early.
I want to put something in there though because I am a procrastinator, so I tend to want to leave the hard stuff till later. So this has been in my DNA for a long time. So I'm trying to do things differently, like you say, do the difficult stuff. When it comes to hand. But I feel like sometimes maybe I've done it too quickly and I probably should have
Mhm.
a little harder about how I conveyed that message, if you know what I
Yes.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's the why to do it and when to do it, which early is usually
Yeah.
great, but there's the how to do it. And so sometimes
Yes.
having a bit of a framework around that, there's a really simple thing that I actually learned from a friend of mine, Michelle Huntington, who's a ex-captain, flight
Mm-hmm.
pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and she said that they actually spent a whole week just learning how to do a PA, like how to announce to passengers what's going on,
Right.
particularly when there might be a challenge. And she has this simple framework, which is share the fact, acknowledge the feeling, how people feel about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then reframe to the positive. So, for example, it could be you may notice smoke coming out of the right-hand engine. Fact.
Okay.
You may be feeling concerned about this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I want to reassure you that we can land with sufficient power and we will have you touch down in 20 minutes. That's reframing, giving the positive. So it sounds so simple, but just having that framework of here's the fact, I've got to tell you this is the situation, we've got this delay, this has gone wrong, this has been broken. You might be feeling frustrated, actually acknowledge that human side of it
Mm.
and then reframe. So this has been broken. What we've done is we've made sure we're going to get this and this and this in place so that by the end of the project, it's actually even better than what it would have been at the start. So you're trying to take people on that journey without missing out, acknowledging their feelings along the
Mm.
way.
So let's talk about, sharing the difficult stuff, particularly if it doesn't land well with the person that you're communicating it to. It might be
Mhm.
like, well, I'm just thinking of certain situations, maybe friendships, maybe a
Yeah.
coworker where they're like, actually, I feel really hurt by this.
hmm
And perhaps you can feel that tension in your relationship. What do you do with that?
Yeah, great question. Again, this applies so much to both our personal
Mm,
lives and our professional lives. We're
mm,
constantly having to communicate and share news. So I think, there's no one answer. There's no one cookie cutter like you
yes.
must say this. The biggest principle I think to hold on to is share the fact, and then acknowledge the feeling, and as we said, reframe.
Mm.
And if you then get a bounce back, or, oh, I'm so upset about this, or I can't believe this has happened, or
Mm.
whatever the emotion is, to then listen and acknowledge the emotion. And there's a thing called labeling and looping, which is really powerful. So labeling, oh, Diane, it sounds like you're really frustrated by this.
Mm.
Or I can see that you seem really agitated right now. So you can look, if you're in person with someone, you can look at their body cues, and this could be with a family member, it could be with a colleague. So actually acknowledging and labeling the feelings helps those feelings to dissipate. It's like, if you've been standing in a queue and you get to the
Mm.
front of the queue and you've waited a long time and they say, oh, I'm sorry about the wait. And you naturally want to say, oh, that's okay. And they've just apologized and they've acknowledged that it might have been frustrating waiting that long. And suddenly you say, that's okay, and you feel a bit better. So
Mm.
rather than minimizing other people's feelings, actually acknowledging them is really key. And then I
Yeah.
think just being curious and continuing that process of, this is the fact. I know that you're frustrated about this. This is the situation now. How can we move forward? Obviously depending on
Yeah.
the context. The
Yeah.
other key thing is to get the setup right, which is, there's a thing called, leading into the bad news. And so that is just to preempt and get the person ready to be in problem solving mode. So
Right.
rather than, hi, how's it going? How are the kids? Da 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 da. And then wham, you hit them with bad news. It's actually having something, it might even just be a text message saying, hey, can we catch up? You're really not going to like me today. Or, hey,
Mm.
I've got something I have to share with you. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it could even just be something like, right, you don't want to go into a very long email or a long text, but just giving the person context, or maybe even the start of the conversation, hey, you're really not going to want to hear this today. And straight away, the other
Mm.
person, one, they know there's something coming, but also
Yes.
part of their brain is going to work to say, if I say, you're really not going to like me today, Diane, part of your brain's probably, if we've got rapport, is going to say, oh, come on, Lauren, surely it can't be that bad.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're going to want to build rapport. Yeah, so that just changes the way we lead into that conversation.
And this is really, really good stuff. And I wish I was taking notes about now, but it's a good thing that we're going to, have this for people to rewatch or re-listen to
Replayed.
later in the day, just to get that idea. I mean, thinking of someone who has a faith, I think sometimes I find that if I've got bad news and I've muffed it up badly in terms of saying it, maybe I find coming back later and just sort of apologizing and asking for that person to just say, look, the bad news is still bad news, but I could have done it differently. You know, can
Yeah,
can
I
you
love
forgive
that. I mean,
me?
absolutely. I
Yeah,
think that's a key part of leadership, is being able to apologize when we've got it wrong.
yeah,
I'm just like everyone else. I make mistakes. I don't get it right.
yeah,
Often I think between my husband and I, sometimes in the busyness of life and things like that, sometimes I'll just have
yeah.
to apologize for my tone, or, I was trying to
100%
say this and I
right.
can imagine you felt this and I felt this and I'm really sorry. We just
Yeah.
got to own it.
We
Yeah.
do. We do. Lauren, thank you so much for being a part of today's show. I just always get so much from our conversations. But of course, people can check out what you do online. You've got heaps of
Mhm.
resources, which is super
Yes.
helpful. What's the best place, or where's the best place to go?
Yeah, feel free to check out laurenparsonswellbeing.com, and there are literally hundreds of articles and my podcast, and yeah, lots of ideas around things that will help you both in and out of work.
Thanks again for being a part of the show.
Thanks, Di.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.